thinking it's all woo-woo and cool, mystical.
Oh goodness. Okay, right. Okay. Well, we're just live here, so we can try and stop our pickles. I'm Zenith, as always, and my lovely, beautiful guest today is the lovely Tracey Whittet, as in get with it, type thing. So, just a little bit about Tracey. Tracey is the creator of Transmosis Healing, which is a way of clearing and transmuting energies that hold us back. She's also the co-author of the free ebook, the Magi Within, Unlocking the Gifts to Inner Self. Tracey is a spiritual healer, a multidimensional balancer, Reiki master. She is trained in access consciousness bars, Theta healing, wand healing, absolutely amazing. And on top of that, she's such a lovely, warm, bubbly personality. So I'm really looking forward to getting to understand what all of these are. And especially as a healer myself, I'm always interested in developing, furthering my healing ability and understanding new ways in which I can help and assist in the healing process. So Tracey, a very, very warm welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on. As I was just saying to you earlier, I was listening to one of your recent interviews, and it was just all these checklists, Saint Germain and all these Great White Brotherhood and all that sort of stuff, which is something I'm really interested in myself. So just lovely to hear from you. Lovely to have you on, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.
Me too. I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
We're just laughing because we were having a bit of a laugh at one of Tracey's experiences there. And it is strange because I've had not a similar experience like that, but experience when I'm driving, and I thought, oh my God, why is this happening when I'm driving? This is so dangerous,
Right.
Listen, we've no control over these experiences, but we'll get talking about that. So Tracey, I was talking to you obviously just before the broadcast went live, and I know that this all kicked off for you around the 80s, but I'm kind of wondering what led you down that path of getting interested in this stuff, in this healing, and knowing that you could do it, and understanding that you had an ability or a gift within you that you could take and start develop.
I didn't know I had it. It's kind of like a fish in water. You don't know you're in water. You don't know you're intuitive. You don't know that you have some gifts to offer the world. But I lived in Virginia at the time, Northern Virginia, and a friend said, hey, you should come meet Diette. And she's just this mom in the neighborhood. And she did reflexology on my feet, massaging the feet and touching the nerve endings. And I remember she pushed on the pituitary point of my big toe, and I was like, okay, yeah, you got it, that's it, right? And she offered a Sunday night group, and we would study A Course in Miracles. So as we went to her house every Sunday night, I don't know if you've studied A Course in Miracles, but A Course in Miracles is like spiritual psychotherapy. It ruins your
I have it on my to-do list. I have a book as list as long as you are. I need to get through that, but I've literally just finished the book. It took me about 2 years to get through. It was a channeling book, and I'm still kind of going back over this philosophy, which people have been studying for 20, 30 years. So, but A Course in Miracles is high on my list because it touches on the same sort of subjects as this kind of philosophy. So
it definitely changes you. Definitely changes you, because you think you're in charge. You've got an ego and a personality, and you think you're in charge, but actually you're not. It's actually the divine, the Dharma is in charge. And so I'd go to her house every Sunday night. And when she passed, like about 5 years ago, I realized, oh my gosh, she was my first teacher. But she suggested that I take Reiki. So I went in Fairfax, Virginia. I went to a Reiki 1 seminar. And the thing that I've learned, and I'm just naturally drawn to it for some reason, I just like energy work. And so I guess it's just because maybe I'm etheric, maybe I came from the angelic realm. I really don't know. I really don't. I like fairies. I like anything with wings, all that. But there's just something about the divine. I'll just call it the divine, because I don't want to offend or exclude anyone and be separate, but it's God, creator, source, divine flow is channeling. Someone told me I do chinning. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And that's like when you go up to get the information. It's not like channeling where it comes down.
Right, okay.
I don't know. So I took Reiki, and I think it was very helpful. And then they say if you don't use it, you lose it. And I hadn't used it really. I hadn't been practicing on people. And so about 10 years later, I took it again, and I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't need to take it again. I took Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 again, and I took Reiki 2 again, so I learned some more symbols. But in the meantime, I found this program called Creative Wellness. And you asked me why I'm into all this stuff. I think that I think we're guided. I think we have a path, and I think that we're guided, and I've been guided all along. If I look back, I can see how spirit has divinely guided me. Worked at the Washington Center for Attitudinal Healing, which is in Washington, D.C., and it was working with people who had families that were terminally ill. And so we would work with families, the caregivers, and just hold space and be there for them. And it is somewhat based upon A Course in Miracles because it had principles of healing and such. And I remember I was scheduled to be the facilitator of chapter 11 or the 11th principle or whatever. And it was like, death need not be viewed as fearful. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I'm reading all about it just to figure out what to do for the group facilitation thing. And my father passed away. I was like, whoa. And I remember seeing in my dream, Pegasus with wings. And I remember the facilitator of the Washington Center for Attitudinal Healing said, wow, that's a really powerful dream, not knowing what she meant. And then my father passed. And so the group was very, very silent. They're like very tender with my feelings. I'm like, you guys, it's okay. Death need not be viewed.
Can I just ask, maybe you elaborated on this dream of Pegasus? Do you think it was symbolic of your father's passing, but because it's a winged horse, it was his ascension then into the higher realms or whatever? So I'm thinking it's a metaphysical or not a metaphorical dream that you had.
I think so. I don't know. I didn't know what it meant. I mean, that would be, I think of horsepower. I think of spirit. I think of flying. And that's all it was just a white horse. And I think that if you look at symbology, maybe through the tarot and things like that, a white horse kind of can portend death. But I didn't know that at the time. It's so amazing how spirit gives us gifts and we don't realize it's a gift. Maybe until after, or at least that's how it works for me. I'll have an experience, and then later in life, maybe a week or two later, all of a sudden it happens. Like one time, I don't know why this is coming up, but I'll just share that I dreamed of a room and someone was walking me through this room and showing me around. I was like, okay. The very next day I was on a job interview and we walked into that room and she was showing me around. So I can't conjure intuition. It just sort of comes.
Yeah.
Right?
I understand that. Yeah, I would have a lot of those dreams. Maybe not so much like so specific, and sometimes they're in dream format, but most of the time the messages that I receive are just before you wake up. It's that state where you know that you're not dreaming, but you're not fully conscious and you're just experiencing this, and then you wake up and go, oh, okay, right, okay, I'm awake. That was thing. And it's generally a message or somebody comes, whatever, or something like that. Anyway, I've been slapped in my dream. I've felt the presence of those around me. I was like, okay, this is lovely and it's beautiful. The next thing I got a slap in the face.
Wow.
And I was like, what did you do that for? And they were like, wake up. I was like, right, okay. So I woke up and thought if I slept in for work, and I checked, no. And then I was like, okay, wake up to the illusion that is all kind of around you, that you're more than just this body. So a lot of the time I would get maybe not quite as impactful as that, but that's why I'm kind of interested. Generally not so much dreams, but more just in that state where you kind of know that you're not quite dreaming.
Well, there's the sleeping dreams And then there's the waking dream, like you're in life, like we're in a dream right now, apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and you can get messages from spirit, from God, the divine, however you want to term it, through animals, through, you know, people in the grocery store say something and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, thank you for that message. You didn't realize
Yeah.
that you just got a message. I got one,
Yeah.
right? It's practical divinity. It's really
Yes.
cool. I
Yes.
think that we are so loved and we don't even realize it, how loved
Yeah.
we are. And
Do
what
you know what?
if, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, I just wanted to share a story. This is meant to be you and your
Oh, it's okay.
podcast, but just when you're talking about that, this is not something that I've mentioned before. But you know, when I was in Peru and we had a couple of guides, and I was kind of into this, and one of my guides, you know, the people who ferry you about and takes you on these expeditions, he was asking me all these strange questions over a period of days, like, you know, do you think there's life on other planets out there? And yeah, you know, this strange guy asked me about this, but I was kind of like, of course there is, but I can't tell him, you know, all this thing, because he's just this guy from Peru, this indigenous guy. He was asking me all these strange questions. I can't remember now. And like, we're talking about the history of the Amazon jungle, and he was saying, like, imagine what this place was like before, you know, thing. Can you really imagine it and all? Anyway, I thought I was kind of the one who was, you know, going, well, yeah, I kind of know about all this stuff, ancient civilizations and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought I was imparting a little bit of information. But on the final day that we were due to leave, I was kind of slinging about in this hammock, and we weren't doing anything. I'm saying, myself and my wife. And we just said, look, you go off and do whatever you want. We don't need you today. So we were just kind of hanging back, and I seen the guy passing, sort of within eyesight, or almost at the corner of my eye, off to go and do something, bird watch or something, and he was smiling. And I says, but just something about it. I mean, he can't see me from where I am. Why is he smiling as if he could see me? That's kind of stuck in my mind. And then everything that he was talking about went through my mind, and then it clicked to me. He was my guide. Because there was times there that, like, that he was just completely disinterested. He was talking about football or something like that there, and then there was times where I realized there was questions that were directed to me, and that's when it dawned on me, and I got this epiphany, this realization. Oh my God, that was my guide come in some way. I don't understand it, but sorry for thing. I just wanted to bring on.
Cool. That's way cool.
Yeah. So it's. I know I've never shared this with this, but I'm not really in contact with him. I'm in contact with somebody else, but he probably, I don't know how I would respond to it. But it was just when you were saying there that people somehow give you messages, and I truly believe that whatever way that happened, that these messages or these things were there to try and see kind of where I am at, or to try, I don't know, but that's when it dawned on me. He was my guide in the physical sense, but he was also my guide in the metaphysical sense for that period of time.
I love that. I've heard that, you know, the ascended masters just can embody a body and help you along your way. That's beautiful. What a gift.
I know. I'm sorry. This is meant to be your interview. I just thought
I love it. It's co-creation at its finest. It's great. It's all good, because it's so nice to talk to like-minded people so that you can actually share. We talked about that earlier. I call them weird experiences, but you're right. They are just natural, but when something happens outside of the matrix, like out of the norm, out of the belief systems, that's when we think it's weird or it's a miracle. When everything is just natural as it is, I feel everybody else knows what they're doing and I don't. Everybody else has got the answer.
You're right. And that's why it is important that we share our experiences, that we connect with people who are of the same vibration or the same mindset, because at the minute we are separate in our own minds. We don't have this great gift of telepathy, I guess, which we can understand what someone is feeling. We can communicate on feelings, you know, obviously on deeper levels. So at the presently, and especially because we come into this human form, we're kind of locked. We're separate in our own mind. So our only kind of form of communication is through talking, and it's hard to, unless you kind of know exactly what someone's doing, you know, who they are and what they are, it's hard to breach that barrier, you know, to get that confidence and that trust to speak out and say, look, I'm this person, I've had these experiences, because you could be quite rightly ridiculed, and then it causes you to clam up inside and not to share that. So while we, through interviews like this and connections, we're helping, for me anyway, we're helping to create this kind of bubble of consciousness that, we're ultimately going to grow and expand in the world. So I just love that you're someone who's had these experiences and is someone who can really relate to that, and I'm just excited, I guess, just to be able to share.
Well, I think that what you and I are doing in this moment, really, if we think about it, is that we're contributing to consciousness. We're helping to expand it, because someone else listening or whatever may have had this experience and thought they were all isolated and alone and thought they were going crazy or something, when in fact,
Yeah.
it's kind of normal with people like us.
It is, but unless you kind of talk to someone about it, it can feel strange. It can feel weird, because same with our gifts, our connections with source, our connections with, those who are not in the physical, shall we say.
Yep.
Because they're not an everyday experience, because we don't experience that connection full time, people think that, you're just automatically connected, like it's, you open your curtain or whatever and it's there. It doesn't happen like that. Most of our experiences are kind of limited, they're short-lived, and that's because we have to get on with our human life. So they can quite rapidly fade when we're experiencing this 3D world, and they can seem not real. And I guess that's why we call them kind of weird and stuff.
Exactly. So I like my peeps. I like my circle of friends that get me, because I worked in corporate America for like over 40 years, and everybody, I can relate. I can be a really good human. I can be productive. I can relate. And I have discernment. I'm not going to say something like, "Oh, did you see that UFO the other night?" You know what I mean? Because I'm considerate of their belief systems and where they're at.
And their free will, obviously.
You just have to, it's all about connection. And I think that our lives here, as I've gotten a little older, I'm looking back and going, oh my, I could be really judgmental on myself and go, oh my God, I have been in my body all these years and I'm just getting to know myself and like who I really am. Oh, yeah. I'm really a spirit or soul inside a body. Now, how can I alchemize myself so that I'm actually soul using this as a vehicle to be of the greatest service to the whole?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. That's what alchemy, true alchemy is. It's turning this kind of base metal, what we call base metal, which is kind of our lower cells, and turning it into gold, which is bringing more of that light, more of our totality into this physical being and radiating that light. So for me anyway, that's what true alchemy is, and I think that's what you're touching on there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think alchemy is actually, maybe I'm just getting this in this moment, like maybe it's our intuition. Maybe that's when source or divinity, our angels, our guides, the light can actually permeate this density and our attitude or our structured way of seeing the world. And we get these glimpses of insight and compassion and ideas. And where does that come from? Inspiration, breathing. You inspire, it's spirit, and it's all about connection. And so many of us get hurt. We have wounds and we have disconnects. So it's a normal coping mechanism to isolate or just shut up or, do whatever we can to be here as harmoniously as possible, even though inside we might be feeling pretty rough, pretty uncomfortable. Yeah. So I almost think alchemy is like our intuition, is how our intuition can come in and soothe us and support us and help us find our way, because I always thought I was in charge, my personality, my ego, I'm co-creating here. I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden life takes you over here and you're like, but wait. And then not realizing that it's for your higher good to follow it, just go with the flow. And I have a strong will. So surrendering, kind of an edge that I need to work.
Especially when you get one of those messages, you go, no, I don't see that, because we think that we know better. No, why would I want to do? No, and they're always right. Well, most of the time anyway. When you don't follow that, that's when you find that things end up taking a turn for the worse, in whichever way you want to describe it. And go, oh, should have listened to you after all.
What if there is a direct path? And then we go, no, I think I'll go over here. I think I'll go over there. I think I'll go over here. And that's fine. We have that choice to react to our knowing. It just takes a while to become whole. Pull all those parts of us together and just surrender into the calm love. It's love.
It is. It absolutely is, and it's a very hard concept, but it is. You have to just surrender. You have to just surrender, and know that, you know, what's happening to you or what happened to you is ultimately for your highest good. It's like a fish trying to swim against the current, isn't it? Really, that's where it finds resistance and obstruction. So just go with the flow.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. And so, I guess, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask you a bit more of your history, but I want you to finish your sentence there.
Well, I was just thinking of the word wounded healer. You know, we want to heal ourselves. And so through all of the experiences, whether it's just going to a chiropractor or an energy healer or an herbalist or a nutrition class, you know, for me, like in work, like corporate work, I have a natural propensity to do quality work. Like, okay, so you have this business process. So how can we do that faster, smarter, better, and not do rework? That's my nemesis. Don't do rework, whatever. And I realized that that's what I do in life as well. I want to feed my body nutritional food, like as organic and raw and healthy as possible. You know, I learned some things to take self-responsibility, and I'm not doing it to be a role model, but I've noticed that my family, my son, my stepchildren, you know, people, apparently I have influence, which I didn't know I had. You know, I was just following my inner guidance. And one day I was driving to work in Colorado and I heard, call Vicky. I'm like, who's Vicky? What? And I'm at a stop sign, and it was one of those things like, no. And I said no for weeks. And finally I'm at the stop sign, and her house is like to the left of me. I can see it. It's like in the country in the foothills of Boulder. And so I called. I finally said, okay, I will do what you want. And I called, and her outgoing message was, hi, friends, I'm out camping right now, but if you want to have an energy clearing, please call Jean. So I'm like, So I called Jean, and I had an energy clearing that afternoon. It was lovely. It was perfect timing. It was like a birthday gift to myself. And what I realized while I was laying on the table was, oh my gosh, the energy work clearing that they are doing with me now, Jean is giving structure to what I do naturally. So I was invited to take the class at Multidimensional Body Balancing. And I had taken a myriad of energy work courses before. And it's just almost like, now I would akin myself to be like a highly skilled nurse that's in an operating room. And someone needs something, I can pull from that energy work or this or that. You know, I have a lot of tools. And it's like whatever someone needs in the moment, spirit will direct me, and I follow it, and I will share what I hear and what I see. And that's the common denominator through all of these energy work courses that I've taken. The uniqueness of me, I guess, is that I would share what I hear and I see. And I didn't know that it was valuable. I don't know. I didn't think about it. It was very innocent. So what I think, going back to the word alchemy, is that it's like soul homeopathy. It's almost like spiritual alchemy, where when I share what I hear and I see, when working with someone, whether I'm touching them or not, I mean, it's long distance, energy is everywhere. That somehow it does it, not me. I just get to be the messenger, like the mediator between what you need and what is for your highest and greatest good, for yourself and for all concerned. It's not just about you. It's about for you, your wife, your family, your worker, co-worker, all of it. It's like I don't know. The divine knows, but I don't know. They 100% pure divine light has a perspective broader than I could
Yes.
ever have, myopic view here being in a human body.
Yeah.
But as I'm the vehicle for these messages, these divine flow messages that come through, kind of like when you're a kid and someone's reading you a book or a story, you kind of like can go there in your inner worlds, your imagination. And somehow, and I don't know how, and I would love to know how, that by sharing what I see and I hear, healing occurs. Or it's actually transmosis. I used to say it's a made up word. And I had a friend recently say, no, because I was doing Reiki on someone and I heard the word. And so I wrote it down so I'd remember. And then no one could tell me what it means. And so I thought, all right, let me research this. Transformation, transmutation, osmosis, what is transmosis? And I think what happens is that the recipient of the session is uplifted in frequency and vibratory rate to the level of source that is most appropriate for that person at that time.
Right. Okay. Right.
And so it's a divinely appointed thing, and it's new. And so I'm kind of like safari, breaking new ground and bringing this word out to the world now, and offering my services. If it works, great. If you're drawn to it, great. And it's a gift. It's an appointment, apparently. Divine appointment.
It sounds fascinating. It really does. And as I said, as a healer, it's always something that I'm looking for, something, to help transform and, add another kind of feather to my cap, or whatever you want to call that. But so how did it come about? Because I know the story. I'll take it this took place after, well, maybe we need to go back a little bit, because you were mentioning there the multidimensional aspect, the multidimensional transformation healing. So right. Maybe we need to get to that there, so that the way we can get to how you got this inspiration too, and how you came up with the term transmosis. So
it came to me, and this was in the 90s, really a long time ago, early 2000. I heard the word transmosis and I didn't do anything with it. I just thought, thanks for sharing. Thank you. I don't know what to do with this. And now now I'm in Santa Fe, and Santa Fe, New Mexico has an energy from the planet that is, it either embraces you or it spits you out. And I've done a lot of inner work, and so it's just refining that. And so, is it a marketing name? Maybe. But how do I describe what I do? Because sometimes someone needs access consciousness bars. And I don't know if you're familiar with that work. Are you familiar with that?
I was listening to what it was, but just for the purpose of this interview, could you just talk about that? Because once again, that's another interesting modality.
Gary Douglas and Dane Heer, Heer. Gary's the founder of it, and he brought it through to the planet. And it is reflexology. The points on your feet are for your body. And access consciousness bars, think of like a prison bars, are your limitations that we put upon ourselves that we have. And so there are 32 points on the head that when you hold them gently and you say the clearing statement, which goes right over your head, it's like, I'll say it: right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. It's like, what?
I'm sure you're saying, what the hell am I saying?
And what it does is it actually clears from all these points of view in life. So it's for your life, whether it's healing or aging or all our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. We contract, energy contracts when we're in fear. And so when you have all this energy come up that is from this life or a previous life, you don't even need to know the story. You just clear it. And it's almost like gravity just lifts it off your body. It's so cool. It's so easy. And so you just lay on a bodywork table and the practitioner holds these points and thinks or says it out loud, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, poveds and beyonds. And it clears it. It just clears your stuff. And what's so beautiful is that any thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you and I have in common, if you were the recipient and I was giving you the treatment for bars, it clears it for you, but it also clears it for me, as well as 150,000 other people on the planet that have that same thought, feeling, emotion, consideration.
Wow.
I highly recommend it. It's a great gift to yourself and to your family and to your clients. But I ask. So I use applied kinesiology. That's the thing. You have to ask. You have to ask, what's in my highest and greatest good here? Yeah. What is in this person's highest and greatest good? And I just went up to Colorado a couple weeks ago and worked on my son. And Transmosis Healing would be too, whatever. It like homeopathy. You want it to resonate at the exact right potency so that it clears it and returns it to neutral. You don't want to be all charged, positive or negative. You want to be in your heart. You want to be neutral so that you can receive these messages from the divine. But access consciousness just clears energy that limits you so that you can return to your absolute infinite self. And there's body processes as well. There's a whole bunch of information with it, but it's serving consciousness and it's easy. And it's if you ask a question, it expands energy. If you ask a question that's like a closed-ended question, yes or no, it contracts energy. And the whole point is for us, our bodies, to have energy to flow and to remember that we are this expanded being. So access consciousness is amazing. And sometimes I do use the clearing statement during a transmosis healing session. I also use a pendulum. And I check the chakras to make sure the chakras are all open. And if they're not, then we send energy with our right hand and we receive with our left. So the person's laying on, right? And so the person's laying on the table and we want to remind the body that it's okay. So I use a pendulum like biofeedback over each chakra to see if it's open or closed. And I've worked with the pendulum long enough to know that for me, when it goes in a circle, it's open. And when it goes back and forth, it's closed. So let's say some are open, some are closed, whatever on the person, send energy over. And this is healing touch. You send energy in the field over the root chakra and you have your left hand over the sacral chakra. And then as soon as you feel energy in the left hand, you know it's connected because we're sending energy up. And so you do that. I do that for the whole person. And then if we're long distance, I'm the surrogate and I just check it here and clear it here. So I'm all about teaching people how to do it for themselves. So if you're feeling off or weird and you don't know what's going on, you don't have to do the pendulum, but you could just, clear yourself.
Yeah.
So the energy flows.
Brilliant. I love it. I really do love it. Love the fact that you're just sharing this with people so that they can do it themselves as well, instead of reserving that and going, no, well, it's whatever, I just love that, because I'm kind of all about that as much as possible. Empowering people to do this themselves instead of looking, okay, yes, what you're doing is obviously unique and fantastic and amazing, but that's simply because it was gifted to you. But obviously now you're at a point where you're trying to go, how can I share this? How can I get other people to do this? Because obviously then the attention is not just on you. It is, I don't mean unfortunately, it's great and you're a fantastic person, but I guess the impression that I get of you is that you're not someone who wants the spotlight to be on you. It just happens to be on you because you're the only one who kind of knows this here. So that's kind of what I'm all about. I'm all about trying to empower people, and say, look, don't focus on me, focus on the message, focus on this, do this yourself. I'm no different. Go off and do what I'm doing, breathe or, get in touch with your feelings or whatever the case may be, so that you can access these higher states of consciousness. Yes. So that's what I really get about you.
Thank you. I'm feeling the pressure internally to really put it forth through, I don't know, online course, something that's not like overpriced too, so that it can, so as many people as possible can become empowered. And the other gift I want to share from Access Consciousness, and I know we were going to talk about it, but I'm just going to plug it for a second, is the Magi Within, Unlocking the Gifts of the Inner Self. So this tool that I want to try and articulate and share here is in the book, and I think under the energy chapter or something. But we know what we know. We do know, but we deny it, or we have doubt, or fear gets in the way, that kind of thing, right? So you can be a pendulum or a divining rod, like finding water, whatever, yes and no. You can be that for yourself. And so typically, if you ask yourself a question that you know the answer to is true, you can ask yourself, like I could say, is my name Tracey Whittet? And my body is telling me, because I'm feeling it up here, it kind of like gives me a sensation here. And I think it's actually the biology, the nerve plexes are like, yes, that's true. Because your body will not lie. It knows what's good for it and what's not. And our mind can override that and say, oh, I think I'll have the chocolate cake instead of the apple, whatever. But you can ask questions and get the answer. So it's called the heavy and light tool. So when something's true, you feel the energy almost lift off your body like gravity. It just lightens up. It's truth. Yeah. And then if it's false, typically it feels heavier. And it's like when you're in fear, or your gut's just like, that's usually your body telling you no. So that's so simple that you could just ask yourself. You don't have to do it out loud so people think you're cray-cray, but you can think thoughts and ask a question and get the answer, yes or no. And you do this through practice. You just practice it and notice when you follow the truth for you, how much greater your life is, how simple, how easy it is. And when it's false and you override it and you go, no, I'm going to eat the whole chocolate cake, and then you don't feel good. Just as a silly example. Yeah, no, I understand. You do? Okay, good. I was trying to articulate it. So
the truth doesn't lie, I guess. That's it. You'll know, I've talked about this before. If you're searching, if you're seeking for answers, you'll know it because you'll know what the truth feels like. It'll feel true to you. It'll feel true. This is it. It's about our feelings. Once we understand what our people go for, your feelings, because we don't understand these things. It's all about your feelings. This is your intuition, your guidance. It'll feel true. So it's just exactly what you're saying. It will feel true. If it doesn't feel true, then you'll know that it's not for you, or it's a lie, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Anger is a feeling that I've had before, and I've noticed, obviously I'm in a human body, I've felt it, but I don't like it. And when I feel anger, it's my body letting me know something's not right here. Something's either I'm going against my own knowing or truth or what feels good to me, or I'm in the wrong environment, wrong relationship, whatever. Yeah. It's like, trust yourself. That's really the message, is to trust yourself. And that's my message to me, to trust myself, that I do know what I know, even though I thought I was a fish in water and I didn't know that I knew things, that I have intuition. And it's practical divinity. It's what it is. It's practical divinity. Yeah. It's like we are human, but there's a part of us that is divine. And who's driving the car? Is it the divine part, or is it the human part? You want to rise up to joy and happiness. And sometimes our chemistry is off and we don't have those feelings, but through support, through allopathic or complementary care methods, you can work through those feelings and navigate your life. It's almost like a life manual. Our body is a vehicle of our life, and we follow it. I don't know about karma. I don't know why that just popped in, but it's like sometimes people get illnesses, and why? Is it that they polluted their body so much? Maybe not. Maybe they inherited things through their DNA, through their genetic line, their ancestors. And I've found that when I work with people doing transmosis, that's the number one issue, is clearing out our ancestral lines of
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah. There's so much, I guess, the more you kind of know about this stuff, then you begin to realize how little you actually know. There's so much that, once you go and go, oh my God, I really don't know anything, because there's just so much,
Exactly.
like karma and how complicated a subject that is, and it's crazy. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask there is, this concept of, because it ties into karma as well, of our pre-incarnative choices and lessons that we want to experience, which for me, I don't know if you would agree with this or you have any thoughts about this, are programmed by our higher selves for us to go through. So I'm kind of wondering about the lessons that we need to understand, that the lessons we need to take into life, the illnesses that we need to experience to learn to grow and evolve from that. And I guess wondering, about clearing those traumas, those karmas, those ancestral, whatever, and those pre-incarnative choices. I'm trying to formulate a question. I can't really. I kind of feel like I'm dancing around the thing. But I guess we're healing maybe. Do you think that perhaps when someone comes along with a disease or a problem that that they have experienced, is it healing that works because they no longer need potentially that pre-incarnative choice or are ready to be healed from it? If that makes sense.
Yes, and I don't decide it. That's what happens in a session. Let's say it's you, and I call in your guides of 100% pure divine light. That was what I learned in my first clearing, is that if there was a changing of the guard, I thought I was working with Saint Germain and the Great White Brotherhood and stuff, but there was trickery in there. So I think it's very important that we manifest through our voice. And so you always call in 100% pure divine light and ask for your highest and greatest good for yourself and for all concerned. I do the same thing for me. And then I ask you and I, if you're on the table or on Zoom or whatever, to put our personalities, our mental bodies outside the consecrated space so that we can both be as close as possible to pure divine consciousness. What happens when we're kids in this life, or if it even happened to our great grandmother, traumas and lessons in life happen. And if you looked at it in a light term, like dark and light, light would be at level 10 and the dark would be 9 and below. And the beauty is that the dark never prevails the light. The light always prevails. So these traumas and experiences that happened in either in our life, in this life body, or in our ancestral line with our fathers, mothers, everybody, whatever happened, hardships, what happens energetically? I'm sorry if there's a sound because I've got a trash truck going by. Those energies have a life too. Everything has soul, everything has an experience and grows, right? But those energies get stuck in the past and they keep rehashing it as if it's happening now, and it's not. So in your body, in this lifetime now, how difficult is it to be present, fully present? And it's because we have all this operating system in the background that is stuck in the past, perhaps. And some energetic experiences are bigger than others and all of that. And so we don't need to know the story about what happened to our ancestors, but obviously they lived, so things happen, and energies got stuck in the past. So what this light work does is that you can call up the whole generational line, let's say of your mother's side of the family, and everything's a hologram. So we place that into the separation room and we bind and gag all misqualified energies. And that would be the dark or whatever trauma, whatever's stuck in the past. And then we call in the purple transmuting flame to transmute that.
That's interesting.
And then it could be, I think so, but in the class, we never gave him credit. But the violet consuming flame, yeah, I did a lot of that I am presence work. And the violet consuming flame, there's many phrases that we use. And there were other people in my class, but I'm really wanting to bring this forth. It's almost like that class in multidimensional body balancing gave me the structure to what I do naturally. And I want to share that with others, however they're going to take that work and the light. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you because obviously I know that, you've talked about this when we're talking about multidimensional body balancing, is that we have 6 or potentially 7 other bodies, which may seem strange to people, but our physical is only one of them. So we're healing, when we're talking about multidimensional healing, we're talking about healing these different bodies around us. And just, if you would just like to talk about that rather than me kind of.
Yeah. So 1% is the outer world, our physical body, just 1%. I think it's Buckminster Fuller that said that 99% is invisible. It's like, what's going on in that 99%?
Yeah.
So we have a physical body that looks just like us. We have a supra-physical body that looks just like us, but it's a little more refined. It's right next to our physical body. Then we have the astral body, which is our emotions. We have our causal body, which is where we hold all of our cellular memories, past lives, Akashic records. We have a mental body. So all of these holograms look just like us, and we always see them depicted outside of our body.
Yeah,
but
like an aura or something.
They're really inner bodies, but so it's confusing to my mind. So then we have a mental body, and then we have an etheric body. We have a soul body. These are the terms that I had learned. And it's confusing to my mind because I know that they're all on the inner realms, but we always depict them like it's a rainbow color outside of us, just like us. So when we do have a trauma or an experience that gets stuck in the past, 80% of the time, those energies get stuck in the endocrine system, which are your ductless glands, the thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, your nervous system, and your chakra system. And then there's other minor systems where energies can get stuck. So there is a myriad of places to go in someone's energy field. It could even be in their field. It could be even between fields. It could be between levels, layers, timelines, dimensions. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So I leave it up to source. I leave it up to the 100% pure divine light. Okay, what should we do for this person? They have this, this, and this. Because I ask, what do you want to work on physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? And I have a map. Basically, everything that I learned in that multidimensional body balancing class, I put on one piece of paper.
Okay. Wow.
And I use applied kinesiology to ask, what does this person need? Consecrate the session and pull that in ahead of time, because sometimes people go, oh, I don't know, whatever source says. And I was like, no, really, I want to help you as best I can. So I connect with, muscle testing to see what is in your highest and greatest good. And then we talk about it before the session starts. So sometimes everything shows up on that map. I circle everything. Oh, it's the endocrine system of the astral body, and it's put them in the fight or flight room or the anger room. All of these are holograms because this is a holographic universe. And so if it's your nervous system of the astral body, I kind of like in my mind's eye, like that movie called Minority Report. I pull it up on a screen and I kind of look and I see, oh, it's a little darker right there. Let's use the violet consuming flame to clean it up. And the sayings are, and I feel that if someone is in their right soul alignment, that they too can do this. I know anyone can do this if they chose to, but I don't want to interfere in anyone's life path. So that's why we call in 100% pure divine light. And I ask to be shown, show me what is in their highest and greatest good. And they might say nervous system of the astral body. I don't need to know the story of what happened, but we can place your body in the healing room and have the light work on it. And what eventually happens is that when soul or spirit returns to the body, into the cell, into that system, it brightens up. It has more light. And then I know that it's done. It's cooked. It's been cleaned. Spiritual hygiene. So it's mysterious and it's effective And it's multidimensional because every person's different and every moment is different. People don't come all the time and they don't need to. It's not like therapy. It's like have a session and then come back when you feel like it. Or in, you know, we'll ask, come back in a month, come back next year. Some people come, you know, beginning of the year just to set the year that way kind of thing. So it's variable, it's open, it's whatever source wants for that person.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just, you know, if you clear something out of someone's body, you know, the universe likes a vacuum. So you want to heal and seal it with liquid golden light. And these wounds look like counterclockwise spirals going into the body. So after you clean them up, clean, clear, cleanse, heal, harmonize, and balance on all levels, layers, timelines, and dimensions. Bam! I mean, that kind of covers it all.
Yeah.
And then once it's cleaned up, heal and seal it with liquid golden light. Activate upward spirals and reverse any implosions or contractions or shearings, things that are off center. And then you anchor and hold it with divine protection of truth, wisdom, and healing love. So that's kind of a session, and it's these charged phrases that are effectively assisting the divine through the vehicle of my voice to assist the person to receive their highest and greatest good for themselves and for all concerned. And I'm not sure if your screen froze or not, so I'm just going to keep talking just in case. This work is very sacred. It's very divine. It's hard to describe the results that people receive. The results are they feel better, they feel more aligned. Basically, what we're doing is etherically, energetically cleaning up the space within our bodies and within our systems so that we can be more aligned, be in soul alignment with our vehicle, our body. And it happens physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually on all levels, layers, timelines, and dimensions. And right now, I might want to just call forth everyone who's listening or watching. Let's call in your guides of 100% pure divine light. And let's ask for your highest and greatest good to be done for yourself and for all concerned. And let's call in my guides of 100% pure divine light. And I was just doing
Sorry, no idea what the hell just happened there. There must have been some sort of negative influence because my screen just completely crashed, this weird blue error. So I have no idea. I've never had that happen before. So I don't know what was going on. I maybe have to do a little bit of cleaning or clearing myself.
Well, I think that we were. I think we were clearing, and that could have caused it to short circuit. Yeah. So I wasn't sure what was going on. So I was inviting the audience to have a session, a quick one on their nervous system.
All right. Okay.
That's what I was doing. So I was inviting everyone to call in their guides of 100% pure divine light.
Right. Okay. Yes.
And I was calling in my guides.
That's obviously short.
Pure divine light. And let's ask for our highest and greatest good to be done for ourselves and for all concerned. And we're going to call in everybody's nervous system because we are experiencing a lot of stress in this world at this time, whether it's the outer world and our inner world, because we're reacting to it. So I call forth everybody's nervous system, let's say of the astral body, because that would be the emotional body, and that kind of makes sense for the masses. And we're going to place, I'm seeing it or feeling it around the level of 7, and it should be around a 0 or a 1. So we're going to place everyone's nervous system of the astral body into the fight or flight room. And the guides, you know, we call in the violet consuming flame, clean, clear, cleanse, heal, harmonize, and balance on all levels, layers, timelines, and dimensions. And I always see it kind of like a high school locker, like that black and white dial, and it's down to a 5 now, and 3 and 2, 1, 0. And when it gets to 0, that's what we want. We want to reset our sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, freeze, into the parasympathetic that calms it down and returns it to balance. So now that we're all at 0, we're going to restore, reset, regenerate, recalibrate, and integrate on all levels, layers, timelines, and dimensions. And then I asked the soul of the nervous system of everyone listening in if there's anything else that you need. And my body is saying no. So we're going to come through the rainbow light waterfall, purified and cleansed to this present time. And now we're going to return and integrate back into our bodies. Restore, reset, regenerate, recalibrate, and integrate. Huh?
I can feel that.
That's so great. Thank you.
I can feel that, yeah, I can. That's, yeah. Oh, it's like butterflies.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. So that's just one little sequence and protocol. And there's a lot that can happen in our lifetimes to clean it up. But I'm working on the class. I'm working on the ability to teach self-empowerment for self-healing using this method with the light and sound.
It is, and it's so so interesting and so fascinating that it definitely needs to be shared. You know, I'm not saying this to put pressure on you. You need to get out and get that done.
Hurry up!
You know, you could somehow teach this, you know, to a group of people, so that obviously, you know, there's more people doing this, more people being healed. Obviously, then what we're doing then is we're causing changes in consciousness, because people are no longer interfacing with the illusion or interfacing with this reality in that lower vibration. So therefore, we're affecting the planetary consciousness, and then we can obviously, hopefully, I don't know if you talk much about this or really know about this, but hopefully this great change that we're all kind of waiting for, we're all kind of trying to manifest into being, can happen a lot quicker then.
What can happen?
This great shift, this great mass, this great change in consciousness.
We're in the middle of it.
Yeah, this density, or whatever we want to call it. People call it 5D. Other people call it this fourth density. We're currently in this 3-dimensional interface. So this great shift in consciousness, whatever you want to call it, can hopefully change. But even if you don't kind of, you know much about that, or don't really put much kind of faith in or whatever in that, it's worth it, the benefits. I mean, does it really even need to be talked about that much? You know, that we're changing people's consciousness, or you through your teachings, empowering other people and getting them to know your methods, so that more and more people are coming and are being changed, and therefore their whole vibration is changed. You know, just that mass change in consciousness, so we can move away from this this kind of system that we're in at the minute, which is war and inequality and, you know, this kind of greed that we're kind of locked into, so that we can hopefully move away from these kind of limiting states of consciousness that we currently have.
Yeah, I think I like to work at the individual level. I think that I just thought of this, like we could work together as a group, people who want to, you know, like people have those group meditations and such.
Yeah.
Well, one time I did get the impulse to heal the planet, you know, using Transmosis Healing, you know, so doing it globally versus individually. But I've always been a grassroots kind of person, and I feel like, you know, teaching each person to do it for themselves, they can teach it to others. And hopefully we just keep it as pure as possible. You know, oral traditions can dilute and things like that, and that's okay. I just think that if we connect with the light, the 100% pure divine light, you can't go wrong. And that will naturally increase your vibratory rate, which would naturally have your consciousness seeing things from more of a soul perspective, more from 5D, 6D, 12D, whatever, you know, the dimensions are, because it's all one thing. So it's difficult to do that. Like I ask people, what do you want to work on physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? Well, I think of it as all one thing. You're right. but do you have any symptoms going on, you know, or this or that are showing up? Because I feel that things start way farther out vibratorily in the soul body, that if we don't pay attention, it finally manifests in the physical body.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then, yeah, you just want to clean it up before it becomes a problem in the physical body, that you'd have to go through some rigorous purification techniques.
Yeah, I would, yeah, I perfectly understand that. I would kind of just have a different term for it, but it means the same thing.
What's
You
that?
know, as I'm saying, I study this kind of philosophy. It's called the law of one anyway, but they would talk about these kind of really ascended beings. They would talk about this idea of what we experience is called catalyst, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And catalyst is obviously something that should promote change. So all of our experiences, our traumas, our things are just catalyst, and they'll first come to us in our mind, and if not further back than that. But once we don't understand that, we don't process it, eventually it comes and is offered then to the body, or comes into a physical manifestation. And I guess the reason for that is because what they've explained anyway is, well, you know, nothing stops you in your tracks as much as a physical problem. It's almost like being hit around the head with a piece of wood instead of a fly on your shoulder. You know, you're trying to brush it away, so you don't pay attention to it. It needs to manifest in a form in which you're really going to understand. So in that case, it's like instead of a fly buzzing around you, it's like a slap in the face with a plank of wood or whatever. So it kind of the same way, where, you know, if you don't kind of pay attention to it and don't address it and don't change and grow and evolve from it, it's going to eventually manifest in a physical form.
Yeah, to get your attention, like your dream, the slap in the face, or a
Yeah.
for, yeah, I know. Yeah, so it's, again, it's kind of difficult, not impossible, but to be present, because we do have some past things going on, and it's like, you might have a feeling or a thought or an inclination, but it might not even be yours. That was the other thing in access consciousness. It's coming through your body, so it's your thought, but maybe it's not. And so you can ask questions to find out, is this mine? No? Oh, okay. Let me return it to sender with consciousness. I don't want that anymore. There's so much we could talk about. Oh my gosh.
There is. I know. I want to get onto your book. Just what inspired you to, or how did that process come about? Because you're obviously the co-author. So what was that process? How did that come about? You know, do you know these other people? What inspired you all to write a book? You know, and why or how did that process come about?
I had a friend that I worked with, and I was at the grocery store, and she called me, and I was in my car, and she said, "Hey, I just had an astrological reading with Sandra Lee, this really great friend of mine that I've had for years. And it just came to my attention that we all need to work together and create something, collaborate together." And I'm like, okay. So I was asked, and I responded. So we went to Sandra Lee's house, and we didn't know what we were going to do. But then it just sort of, through the four of us together talking, we're like, oh, well, maybe we could write a book, and who would be our audience, and what would be the subject matter? And we all are intuitive people in the group, the four of us, and we decided we wanted to teach people about how to access their own intuition. And eventually the person that spearheaded the group decided to back out. It's like, okay, so then there were three of us. And one is an astrologer. I was working in corporate, but I'm an intuitive and do healing work. And then Vicky is a interior designer. So she's very creative and very intuitive as well. And we wrote a book called The Magi Within. And it wasn't that name originally, but it just popped in, and we all thought, yeah, that kind of describes it. You know, we're teaching people, and it's a workbook. I'll show it here, but I know if anyone's listening, they won't be able to see it. It's called The Magi Within, Unlocking the Gifts of the Inner Self.
Well,
and
we'll obviously include the links, you know, to
okay.
the
Okay.
stuff.
Thank you. It's available on Amazon, but I've put it into a PDF form to offer it, to get it out to the world, because it's like 1 in 5 million books on Amazon. So it's A through Z. So chapter A is awareness, B is bliss, C is creativity, D is dreams. And so it's so cool that the three of us could come together and write a book together and have the same kind of style of writing. So I created a template, like, here's a picture, here's the topic, K for kindness, And then we'll ask 4 questions. And this is kind of coming from the access consciousness world, where you ask questions to expand. And so let's say, like for right now, if you could think of a letter, what letter would you think of, A through Z?
N.
You. N? Ooh, that's nothingness. And so each of us would write a chapter on nothingness, kindness, whatever. And it would have four questions, but we teach everyone to go within first. So we have this guided imagery meditation to go within, then read the chapter, and you would be with nothingness for the rest of the evening for you.
Okay.
And you could maybe read the questions and contemplate them and see how they show up in your life. And it's just a way to their inner world. And we painted paintings of each chapter because we couldn't use the Google images with copyright and such. So nothingness is like this dark background with some stripes or streams of light and green and gold, and it's just very cool. To me, that's like the void.
Yeah. Before creation.
It all comes from there. So that's cool that you got nothingness. So it's a workbook, and you can write in it, or you can just have your own journal. And it's just a method to suggest in a fun, easy way for people to connect with themselves, like for awareness or 0 point or love or heart or what. And it's just, the divine always leads you in the exact right direction that you need to go, and just trusting that divine timing. So thanks. Yeah. The Magi Within, it's kind of like the 3 wise men, but we were the 3 wise women.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, so I guess we're kind of coming to that time. So what I'd love to do is because you're such a fascinating, bubbly character, I could talk to you all day, but
I know.
obviously time's limited.
Me too.
So what I kind of want to do is find out where people can obviously get a hold of you, find your information, watch your stuff, access this book.
Yeah, so I have a website. It's my first and last name, TraceyWhittet.com.
Tracey Whittet.
Yeah, get with it. And it's very simple website. I try to verbalize who, what, when, where, why, what Transmosis Healing is. There's a schedule button if you feel like scheduling a session. No pressure. It'd be great. It's always an honor. It's a very sacred time. It's a very sacred space of being with someone. It's very sacred. That's the best word to say it. And then, there's a book page, and you can click here and buy it on Amazon, or you could watch my 1-minute video and put your name and email in, and then you get access to the PDF and just start using it. And I won't spam you. I basically am like, hey, did you open the book yet? Hey, did you look at the kindness chapter? And it's kind of like a 2 sentences of inspiration, hopefully.
Yeah,
so
I'm definitely will be checking out that book, especially the chapter on nothingness. I definitely will, absolutely. So what have you any other media that you want to direct people to? Any other websites or any other social media or anything like that?
I am on Facebook, Tracey Whittet, but I created a business page called Transmosis Healing, and it's one word. And I am an author, and I take down quatrains. I think Nostradamus did this too, wrote in quatrains. But I'll be contemplating and meditating in the morning, and I'll hear a sentence over and over again, very short and sweet. So I'll write it in my journal. And then the next sentence comes, and the next and the next. So I think I have over 500 or 600 of these by now. I've been doing it for years. So on the Transmosis Healing Facebook site, there's a featured image, and it's on my website, but it's also on Facebook, and then it goes out to Twitter, Instagram automatically. So it kind of saves me some time. Yeah, it's a plugin, but
yeah, no, I must check that out. I'm not on any, although I kind of on social media. I don't have a Facebook page or a Twitter page or anything like that, but I'll be sure to look in them. Hopefully I can get some sort of public access to it. Rather than, because I know like Facebook, it's very restrictive. You need to be on Facebook in order to access Facebook. But sometimes you can get a bit of a look at. I think Twitter's a bit less restrictive, so I'll definitely be checking those out too. So obviously I was going to ask about your future plans, but we kind of already know that. I guess your plan is hopefully to develop some sort of manual or teaching
Yeah.
course to help people to get them to learn this stuff. I'm wondering, it must be, I guess you weren't, who was it give you it anyway? We never talked about that, or how did that experience happen?
What was the question?
The
Who what?
how did transmosis healing come to you? How did that concept, how does it explain, or not explain to you, but how was it, what's the word, how was it given to you?
I was holding my hands over someone's torso, and clairaudiently, I heard the word transmosis. And so no one could tell me what it meant. So I finally researched it, and then I'll read it. Transmosis, an unconscious transfer and assimilation of higher energies to raise the recipient's energy to equal the source energy. So I divinely went and got the information, and now it's kind of like a synergy of things that I've learned that are now forming into a session called Transmosis Healing. And it's calling it 100% pure divine light. It's asking for your highest and greatest good. It's asking to be shown. I clear the chakras based on a pendulum. And then I ask, and then somehow it's clairaudient. It comes to me and they'll say, nervous system of the astral body, or do this, do that. And then I'm off script, if you will, from what I learned, because with the energies of the person that I'm working with, sometimes they'll say things and I don't know what it means, but it means something to the person on the table or on the other side of the screen. And I've had validations over and over again. So it's sort of like me being the cocoon of taking all these classes. And now I'm like the butterfly, allowing it to come through me and out. And then I want to take it to the next level to teach others to be able to do it. But I don't know where everybody is at. So for me, it's like, you just muscle test. You just pull out your pendulum. Well, even people who are awake and aware haven't practiced that. So I need to step back and really step by step share what I've gleaned throughout my time, so that others can practice it and do it in their own form. It's not like it has to be white and black. It's like, this is the foundation. Now use your divine gifts to use that information to go forth in the world and prosper.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. The fact that it's not a rigid belief system, it's not belief, it's not a rigid way of doing things, that if you don't do it this way, well, you're not a certified healer, or that you don't get the qualification necessary. I think that's fantastic. And I think that's absolutely the right way, is that you provide the foundation and let it evolve for that person, in whichever way that they feel. Well, there's that word again, whichever way they feel that works for them. I think that there's too many, certainly in the where I learned my kind of original healing. Well, it needs to be done this way, and if it's not that way, then the kind of thing. But for me, it's like, no, I feel that it could be better done this way. And and just what you're saying of calling in 100%. Well, I don't actually use that, but I call in pure love and call in pure light to assist with that healing process. But that's not something that was taught to me. It was something that intuitively felt, and I found great work and great people. Well, oh my God, what was that? So I think that's just brilliant. I really do. I think that's just brilliant, and I think it's completely the right way. You're just saying, like, here's the foundation. Now go off and develop it in your own kind of way. And I really do. I'm really looking forward and really hoping to see that day come where there's so many people practicing this, because as we talked about before the show, healing is so vital. And even within the show, we talked about that. Healing is so vital at this time. I think we're at a crucial point in our history with world events, and there's so much to process. And even not even as we talked about on a worldly level, but within everybody, they're finding so many people who are in desperate need of healing, who are going through life-changing circumstances. I find that so many, and there's so many people that have talked about this. So I think that healing is more vital than ever in this world.
Yeah, it's like we're like the first wave through the ascension process or consciousness.
Yeah.
It's not like we're the first ones on the planet. I mean, there were many brilliant people in ancient ages too. I mean, it's just this is our reality now. And so we've gone through all of these things, or I have, to be able to catch and receive and midwife someone into their own becoming. I mean, it's really getting to know who you really are as a divine being and embracing that and loving that, loving your shadow, loving all of these things. And if you can have support along the way to help you along your path, that's great. I mean, I know that we Caucasians maybe don't like the guru and the master and all of that, because we're like, oh, my way or the highway. I know what I'm doing, you know, all that. But I had learned through many teachers that it's nice to have someone hold your hand and lead you there, so that you don't kind of meander so much. It can be a little more direct.
Yeah.
My thing is to get people to be direct to source. We don't, blessings to the church, but we can access that ourselves. And I want people to feel and think for themselves and trust their knowing, rather than thinking that the media and this and that out in our outer world has the story, because they're kind of propagandizing the way that we see the world. And I want us to all go in and connect with our inner self, so that we can be empowered and choose what's right for us. And that's what maybe the outer world doesn't want us to do, right? So we're breaking the system here. We're breaking the illusion. And I think it's the outer world and the inner world coming together now, where that's the way it needs to be. We have to have these free thinkers, our own creativity, our own essence, to put it into the energetic soup so that we can raise consciousness together. I mean, I am very Pollyanna-ish, you know. I definitely think we could have utopia here, and we'll do the best that we can. Kind of like that book, The 100th Monkey, where, you know, critical mass, eventually it's just going to be the way that it is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know, that's the way I think the world is going. I don't see it as doom and gloom. I see it as we're coming out of the egg, you know, we're cracking through, and we're going to fifth dimension, whatever the terms are, you know, whatever the buzzword is, but it's really more love, peace, harmony.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's just such a beautiful statement that you said there, you know, about this, the way the world is and how we can sort of navigate around that, and about where we're going with it. You're right. And I guess it all depends. It's what you choose to focus on, isn't it? It's whether or not you choose to focus on the media and the fear mongering and the corruption and like that. And there's so many people, even people within the spiritual community and people who I know, who have fallen into that trap of focusing thing, and even giving your power away to certain individuals who were supposed to come and lead us into this new world, presidents and stuff like that. And now I just kind of like, I said it did for a while, and then I was like, no, listen, you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away by focusing on one person to come in and solve all this. It's up to us. We have the responsibility to change ourselves and to get ourselves in the highest vibration. So that's what I kind of said when all of that stuff was going on. I'm sure you're aware of what I'm referring to. It was like, no, listen, there's no help comes within. Jesus is not returning again, you know, for a thing, despite what you may think is somewhat Jesus. It's up to us. We need to change ourselves. So I just concentrated on working to do the shadow work, do the inner work, to transforming myself and letting more of that love come in, and recognizing that love can be held and found within each and every moment, and to manifest and try and share that love outwardly as much as I can, even with a conversation with someone who is not open to this stuff. I would just let them talk and just mentally project love at the end of the day. So I guess what I'm trying to say is your message just resonates so much with my own kind of beliefs and what I'm kind of trying to do in the world. So thank you so much for that there.
Yeah.
Do we have time to And if we don't, it's absolutely fine because we've been doing this for quite a long time. And do we have time to go through your weird and wonderful experience that we were talking about?
Sure. Yeah. We had a conversation before we went live, so to speak, and I was sharing how it was a weird experience, and we were like, nothing's weird anymore. It's just natural. It's just what it is. But this was really weird. So I'm driving in my car to work. I'm in Colorado, and I'm going along the foothills, and I'd had an energy session the night before. And I guess I'm integrating or processing, but all of a sudden, I mean, I'm driving, there's mountains, there's the road, I'm 55 miles an hour. And all of a sudden there was nothing but blue-white light. That's it. No sound. It was just stillness. It was all blue-white light. I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden I saw my hands on the steering wheel. And like when you go to a movie theater, there's a flat screen in front of you. And I remember thinking, wow, the veil really is thin. It really looks so real. Because it was almost like I could feel and see the inside of my car and the steering wheel and then the theater screen, but nothing else. I knew that there was stuff on the other side, but that's all I could see. And it was flat and it wasn't moving. And then all of a sudden it went like this. It like spread out. And then the sound and the movement came in all at the same time. And I was like, whoa. So later, I'm asking a Vedic astrologer numerologist man, elderly Indian man. I'm like, this is the experience I had. Do you know what it is? It's just like transmosis. Do you know what it is? Nobody knew. But he said, oh, yes, that was samadhi. And we normally don't do that while you're driving your car. I'm like, okay, great. And he's friends with Sai Baba. This is the funny part. And I was like, oh, wow. So you connect with Sai Baba? And he's like, yeah. Like, I'm thinking mystical, telepathic, amazing. And he says, I go, well, so how do you reach him? And he goes, on the cell phone? I'm like, oh, so you guys are friends in the 3D world. You talk to him on the cell phone. I never thought of Sai Baba having a cell phone.
That is just such it's so funny because we tend to look for the mystical in everything, and sometimes it's just a practical thing. It's on the other end of the cell phone.
I felt so innocent.
He's tuning his mind, his vibration, and he's receiving these
telepathically, he communes with you in your dream space, in your meditation. But no, it's like, hey, dude, how's it going?
Brilliant, absolutely amazing, fantastic. God, there was something else that I wanted to ask you there, and it's completely went out of my mind. I just want to say, Tracey, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on. I've enjoyed so much connecting with you. I've enjoyed your bubbly personality. And I think that's why you, even at your age, that you look so fantastic because of that humor that you have about you. Absolutely. So yeah, it's been an absolute honor. It's been a pleasure. And you know what? I'm actually just thinking about that experience there when you were doing that clearing where the computer went completely down at my end and you took over hosting duties for a little bit of time. So maybe that's an indicator to you that, potentially that you maybe could expand in another field and maybe do YouTube videos or something like this yourself.
Yeah, I have a few, but I haven't done that yet. I'm really actually very shy, so it's easy to talk one-on-one. And when it's live like this, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know who's listening. Access consciousness, last tip, is if you feel judged, normally we contract fear, we get smaller. But if you feel judged, just expand your energy out really big, because it's like turning on a light in a dark room. It just goes away. It doesn't matter anymore. So that was my point about the live audience, and people might be judging me or whatever. It's like, I'm just going to expand my energy so I don't feel it and notice it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Be who I am, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something this is not something that I ever wanted to do. I only joined much because it was a way for me to distribute my podcast, which was me just talking and offering spiritual advice and insight. So I thought, okay, right, well, I'm not being on this. I'm not being a guest in anyone's show, and there's nobody. Next thing, a whole range of people. I was, oh my God, what do I know about what do I know about interviewing people? I'm not an interviewer. I'm not somebody. I don't want this, and I almost ran away from it. But like like a few
I think it
years
shows
before.
you. I think
Yeah, well,
spirit
yeah,
too.
they did. This is what I'm getting to. A few years before that, I'd only got my website, and on my website there still isn't. Well, there is kind of now because they publish these interviews and stuff. But on before that, there was absolutely no information about me on my website. There wasn't even a picture of me. I didn't even disclose my gender, nothing about me, because I was very shy. I don't like social media, but I also wanted the messages, what it started over the channel messages, to stand for themselves rather than someone focus on me as a person. But at my spiritual kind of development, we would have kind of, me and a few friends, or a few friends and I, excuse me to use proper grammar, would have kind of conducted Zoom sessions to develop our mediumship and our psychic abilities. So we would give each other readings, and then we would just kind of talk. And I just felt that I needed to grow, I needed to expand at the time, and I was just frustrated. And I found that's okay. I'm interested in doing mediumship, but I feel it limiting. I want to grow beyond that, and hadn't even done a podcast yet. And I was kind of venting my frustrations to the few friends, and one of them got a message through to say, like, telling me he needs to do videos. Like, we know you can talk, but you need to go and do videos. And I was like, oh, no way, no way. So, because at the time I'd only got my website, and revealing myself publicly was the furthest thing from my mind. So yes, once again, this was Spirit coming in and saying to me. So as I said, once people started requesting a guest spot on my show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, I said, well, maybe now is the time to actually fully embrace this and, do video interviews. So, and now from there, as I said, it's not something that I wanted to do. And from then on, I joined this app called Wisdom. I was invited to be a part of this Wisdom app, which again, I thought it was just another thing for me to go on and do my podcast. It was an audio thing, you talk into your phone. And so it said record this kind of short message, which I thought I was doing. So I was recording this short message. And when I looked at the screen, I was horrified to see that people were listening in live. I was like, oh my God, whoa, there's people listening to me. And that's okay. Just keep calm. Just keep on, recording your message. Just hit the end button. And before I could do that, the Wisdom is something which people can join into your show. It's kind of like being a radio talk show. So on my screen, I see a notification. You have one guest waiting to join. Beads of sweat were on my head. Oh, I don't know what to do. So yeah, I'm very much like you. I'm kind of very shy, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, I've been thrust into this role. So as I said, never kind of doubt your abilities. You have so much to offer this world, and I would love to see you in a more public format, giving videos or doing something like this here. So yeah, I think you so much.
I'm working up to it. I mean, I had a business coach here in New Mexico, and she said, you need to get in front of other people's audiences. And I'm like, oh, heck no, and then I think I searched, maybe, I don't know how I found Podmatch, but I saw you and I was very intrigued. So even though you didn't want to give your gender or your face or any of that, I was like searching for you. It was like a magnet. I was like trying to find and connect with you. And so that's why I sent you the message, and I was so pleased that you said yes. So it's really cool. It's divinely perfect.
Yeah, I know. And as I said, it's been an absolute honor and an absolute privilege. I've connected with you so much. I've enjoyed just having this light-filled, bubbly conversation. And I do want to stay in touch with you, if you don't mind. So I guess because we could go on all day giving each other, throwing virtual bouquets to each other, couldn't we? That's what we're doing. We're throwing our love and praise. No, you're the best. But yeah, like, I know probably should have saved this kind of love fest for after the interview. I guess people will be kind of wondering now what's going on after this show. But yeah, like, it's been an absolute honor. It's been an absolute privilege, and thank you so much. And I'll be sure to publicize everything that you're doing. Obviously, when this eventually goes well, it is live here, but eventually when I release it in a more public kind of format. But Tracey, thank you so much for agreeing to do this here. It's been an honor, a privilege,
Thank you
and
so much.
just continue to shine your light.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're delightful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Talk to you.